Are you watching Genshin-kun? Wuthering Waves Oni-chan is showing me a good time. Alright, so Genshin Impact put out a survey a few weeks ago, and I figured, hey, maybe they actually want feedback for once. Now, I'm not saying I expect Hoyoverse to actually listen, because let's be real, this is the same company that took 3 years to add a second claim all button. Players had been requesting a simple claim all button for Expedition since launch, but it took Hoyoverse until version 3.2, 3 years later, to finally implement it. But hey, since they're asking so nicely to me, and Brand Online did say that we finally have the opportunity to make meaningful changes, I'm going to straight up give it to them. I used to be a proud Hoyoshill myself, but after watching Wuthering Waves come out swinging with actual quality of life features, watching Zenless Zone Zero do so much better, watching Honkai Star Rail going back on their predatory practices, and all of this stuff that Genshin still refuses to implement, I had to face the truth. Genshin could be better. It should be better. But right now, it is coasting. And if Hoyoverse thinks that they can sit back and do nothing while other games innovate, they've got another thing coming. So dear Hoyoverse, if you're listening, and you should be, let's talk about the absolute bare minimum fixes that should have been in the game years ago. Look, I get it. Game development is hard, but these aren't massive world-altering changes. These are basic fundamental features that literally every other modern gacha game has figured out. If Zenless Zone Zero, a game made by the same company, has some of these fixes, then what's Genshin's excuse? First of all is the skip button for dialogues. The year is 2025, and Genshin still doesn't have a skip button for a dialogue. Do you know how ridiculous that is? Visual novels let you skip dialogue, and their entire gameplay loop is a dialogue. Every player wants this. The only people against it are those who haven't suffered through an NPC monologue about how Timmy's pigeons actually symbolize Mondstadt's fragile economy. Oh wait, it's not even that important. So why can't I skip it? Zenless Zone Zero has it. HSR says that they're gonna add it. Wuthering Waves has it. Oh, and actually, Wuwa even goes a step further by providing a story summary when you skip, so you never actually miss important details. Here's the kicker. If a game adds a skip button and everyone skips the same scenes, maybe that's a sign that the writing isn't as engaging as they think. Wild concept, I know. And that acts as a mini survey, you know, a mini information giver to the company to judge whether a story is actually good or not. If it's good, then they'll do more of it. If it's not good, if it's bad, if a lot of people skip it, then maybe they should tone back on it. And before anyone says, but the story is important, you don't understand the lore. Mavuika is not just a motorcycle rider, she's actually a depressed Archon. Like, yes, of course. But forcing people to sit through slow, unskippable dialogue doesn't make them care more about the story. It just makes them resent it. A skip button forces devs to actually write better narratives, because now if people skip, it's on them. It's not forced on engagement. And then we got the Cadron tab for remote daily commissions. I mean, let's talk about the dailies, right? The thing that you do every day if you want Primo Gems. And after that, you still have to manually run to Catherine to claim your rewards. Why? What is this weird obsession with making players teleport just to talk to an NPC? You already know we did the commissions. Just give us the rewards. ZZZ, HSR, and Wuwa lets you claim your dailies directly from the menu. No extra steps, no waste of time. And no, this isn't about being lazy. It's about respecting players' time. If your game demands daily engagement, then the least you can do as a company is not make it feel like it's a chore. The access to bypass 4-star event weapons. Now this one actually blows my mind. In Genshin Impact, event exclusive 4-star weapons. If you miss them, they're gone forever, never to return. Just like your dad, just like your ex-girlfriend, just like your money. You can literally never attain them again, which makes no sense because they're not even 5-star limited weapons. Honkai Star Rail lets you bypass event weapons with in-game currency. But Genshin, if you didn't get the weapon during its event, you're out of luck. Hope you weren't building a character 3 years late. And it's the fact that the 4-star event weapons are actually meta in the future, like the Festering Desire, for example. And it's not like Hoyoverse can't fix this. They could easily add past 4-star event weapons to Paimon's bargains instead of whatever Black Cliff sword or claymore or whatever that is nobody's buying. But no logic, just FOMO. Again, these aren't radical changes. They're not controversial. They're just basic industry standards at this point. We have the artifact loadouts. Why is this not a thing? We have around 95 characters, 54 artifact sets, and absolutely zero way to save builds. And between those artifact sets, maybe you want to use a 2-piece something, you know? It's not always a 4-piece. Swapping artifacts around is miserably slow. You want to experiment with different teams? Better set aside 10 minutes just to re-equip the right pieces. And sometimes there's like hyper-specific pieces for some characters. For example, for Shangli, you want a high energy recharge and high crit, and then you gotta look through every single timepiece that you have. Bro, it's so bad. Wuthering Waves lets you save and swap entire builds instantly, all at the press of a button. Genshin players have been begging for this for a long time, for years. And Hoyoverse's response? We hear you. Yes, they added a function to sort artifacts by background color. What? At this point, it's like they want you to hate build crafting. No wonder people just get lazy at building. They just slap 2-piece gladiators with 2-piece elemental damage bonus or something. It doesn't make sense. And then we got the portable crafting bench. Oh wait, I misspoke. We don't have that. Why do I need to teleport for this? Dude, imagine you log in, you open your inventory, realize that you're out of condensed resin. No big deal, right? Wrong. Because now you have to teleport to a city, wait through a loading screen, screen, run over to the crafting bench, manually craft your items, and then teleport back to whatever you're actually trying to do. Like literally you have to go out of a domain, teleport out, and then go back, teleport there, and then you gotta go back into the domain and farm it. It's just such a hassle. And some players have long loading times, making this process even more painful. It's not like Wuthering Waves where most people are playing on PC anyway, I think. Genshin players actually play on their phones sometimes. HSR and Wu will let you craft straight from the menu because they respect your time. And Genshin is still pretending that teleporting back and forth is essential gameplay mechanic. This is a solvable problem. You know how we have the portable waypoint? Just give us a portable crafting bench. Or better yet, just put a crafting tab in the menu. The fact that we're still forced to detour to make basic materials is insane. And then let's talk about the daily respawn of overworld ascension mats. Why are we still waiting 48 hours? Leveling up a new character in Genshin? Hope you enjoy waiting, because overworld ascension mats in Genshin, like the flowers and stuff, they only respawn every 48 hours. This forces you to either wait 2 days just to continue farming or awkwardly beg for another player's world, praying to God that they are not building the new character or the rerun character you just pulled. Wuthering Waves resets these daily, making farming consistent and flexible. There is just no reason to have 48-hour timer on something so essential to progression. It's just artificial scarcity. This outdated system actively discourages people from building new characters. Why is a game that thrives on character variety making it harder to level up those characters? It just doesn't make sense. But let's talk about the real thing. Genshin's resin system isn't really a problem. It's not great, but it's manageable. The real nightmare is the drop system, the farming system. If you've ever spent weeks farming for a single good artifact, congratulations. You now understand psychological torment. Other gacha games are moving forward. Genshin, it's still making you pray for unusable stats like it's a slot machine rigged against you. So it should be a good idea to add in a double artifact drop event. Why is this not a thing? Farming artifacts in Genshin is like playing the lottery, except instead of money, you win disappointment. You finally get the right set, but the wrong piece. You finally get the right piece, but the wrong main stat. You finally get the right main stat. All of the substat roll into flat defense. And then after weeks of this, your reward is an artifact that makes you question your entire life. Meanwhile, other gacha games, they still have this really bad upgrading system, sure, but they're out here handing out double drop events like candy. Honkai Star Rail, HSR, ZZZ, and WUA all have them. I don't know about the others, but it's literally a scheduled event for WUA. Genshin already does the double ley line and the talent book events, so why not artifacts? The system is already in place, they just won't use it. It's baffling. The worst part of artifact farming isn't even the RNG, it's the fact that they could make it better but choose not to. And it's also a good thing to add in a Resin Reserve Overflow system. Stop punishing players for having lives. Let's talk about Resin. More specifically, the completely unnecessary stress of hitting the cap. In Genshin, if your Resin maxes out, you start losing potential resources unless you log in immediately. Other games, they convert excess Resin to a reserve that can be used later. This system already exists in ZZZ, HSR, and WUA. Again, it respects players' time instead of forcing them to log in just to avoid waste. Genshin's current system is outdated. It assumes players have nothing better to do than micromanage their Resin before it overflows. Other games understand that people have lives. Genshin still acts like you should schedule your entire day around resource management. And look, if there's one thing Genshin consistently fails at, it's respecting players' time. And nowhere is that more obvious than with weekly bosses. Every week you get a nice little chore list. Go kill 3 separate bosses, burn Resin, and pray to Dawei that the game gives you the materials you need instead of random junk. This system is outdated, unnecessarily restrictive, and compared to literally every other Hoyoverse game, completely behind the times. Let us fight the same boss 3 times. It's not that hard. Right now, if you need materials from one specific boss, too bad. You have to fight 3 different ones just to get your weekly rewards. Why? Zenless Zone Zero, Wuthering Waves, and Honkai Star Rail all let you farm the same boss multiple times per week. And it's not about making the game easier, it's about removing pointless restrictions. There is no logical reason why you shouldn't be able to fight the same boss 3 times if that's what you need. And let's talk about the interconversion of weekly boss drops. Just give us the materials that we need. The worst part of this whole system, you can kill the boss, spend your resin, and still not get what you need. HSR lets you convert weekly boss drops into materials that you actually need. Genshin, no. You just have to hope that the game blesses you. The fact that you can spend resin and still be at the mercy of the RNG is absurd. You already did the fight. You already burned your resources. Why does Genshin think that you should have to gamble for what you need after that? But let's also talk about the conversion of excess overworld boss drops. Stop hoarding junk. Let's be real. At some point, you probably checked your inventory and realized you have hundreds of useless boss drops collecting dust. They used to be valuable, but now they're just there. Meanwhile, HSR has a system that lets you convert old boss materials into something useful. This prevents resource bloat. You're not stuck with mountains of junk. It lets you actually use your hard-earned materials instead of watching them rot. It's a basic quality of life feature that any game that respects its players' time should have. Genshin, on the other hand, operates like a stingy landlord. You get what they give you, and if you don't like it, too bad, buddy. Remove day-gated domains. Stop controlling players' schedule. Time gating in Genshin Impact is one of the worst offenders, and at this point, there's no justification for it. Imagine this, you finally get the new 5-star you have been saving for, so you go farm their talents and weapons, and then oh wait, it's the wrong day. It only opens on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. Well, tough luck, loser. How is Genshin talents and weapon materials locked behind specific days? It's forcing you to log in on the game's terms, not yours. Honkai Star Rail got rid of this. Zenless Zone Zero got rid of this. Hey, don't even mention Bua, bruh. You can farm what you need when you need it. There is no reason why a game that rakes in billions of dollars still forces players to plan their week around talent books. It's outdated, unnecessary, and it makes progression way slower than it needs to be. We need a better rerun system because the chronicled banners aren't enough. Let's talk about the reruns, because if you miss a limited character in Genshin, you better be ready to wait a full year or more just to get another shot. Oh, you like Shunhe? Yeah, you missed her? Oh, you started playing after her banner? You can't get her? Too bad! Her rerun banner is literally the chronicled banners, bro. Like, Genshin's new chronicled banners sound good in theory, but in practice, they rely on standard banner pity, which means they're not a reliable way to get older characters. There's a reason people joke that they'll be in their 30s by the time certain characters get another rerun. And you know how young the player base is, right? The problem isn't just waiting, it's the fact that Genshin makes reruns feel like a lottery. And let's talk about the final one: permanent events instead of deleting content. Genshin has this fantastic habit of introducing some of its best content and then deleting it forever. Story events, gone. You remember that Meteor event? It was gone for a few years, and then they brought it back after a lot of people complained that that's part of the lore. How about unique minigames? Gone. At this point, entire story arcs have vanished, and if you weren't there when they happened, too bad. Meanwhile, 𝗖cie𝗽𝗆𝗆𝗵𝘁 and Rua actually keep certain events at permanent content, allowing new players to experience them at their own pace. It is genuinely baffling. Genshin already struggles with feeling empty outside of updates, and their solution is to actively remove things that make the game more interesting. At the end of the day, I want Genshin to improve. I want it to stay at the top. And I mean this genuinely, I do want it to stay at the top. But the reality is, other gacha games, especially Wuthering Waves, are showing what a modern gacha should look like. Are you watching Genshin-kun? Wuthering Waves 𝗖cie𝗽𝗆𝗵𝘁 is showing me a good time. If Genshin doesn't start keeping up, it's going to fall behind. And considering how much money this game makes, there is zero excuse for Hoyoverse not to implement these changes. So Hoyoverse, you asked for feedback, here it is. Now do something about it.